Jean Kuhn, and today I want to talk about when a J.O.B seems like it's the only option. I've never experienced that once I left my job, but I know other people have. And today I have with me Christine Rothdeutsch, who's going to talk to us about that when that seemed like that was your only option, correct?
Right.
Awesome. Christine, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So let's just dive right into your milk crate business moment.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jean. I've told this story occasionally, but not on national broadcasting. What we're doing now, and I wanted our audience to hear it because I think other people can resonate with it. And this is before I even started my own business. Well, I shouldn't say that. It comes out of when I was working an MLM company. I had gotten into it after being a stay-at-home mom, and I had a couple regular jobs over the years when my kids were starting to get a little older, but something drew me in. Well, some I liked the products, I'd been using them, and I went to something and I saw these other women like, they're successful. Oh my God, they used to be a nurse and they used to be a teacher. If they can do it, so can I. And I said, okay, I'm going to work the business. And several years, well, I shouldn't say several years, it's like 4 to 5 years, I kept that. I'm like, I can make money, I can make money, and I spent way more money than I ever made, and one day, I broke down here. I still remember how upset I was. Don't wanna get too emotional here, because I wasn't making any money. I was, like I say, I was spending so much more than I ever made, the few pennies here and there. But because of everything that I learned a lot. MLMs are great for teaching you business basics and whatnot. Plus, over the years, because of things I had been involved in with my kids, being in parent organizations and eventually rising to being president of numerous ones, and my bookkeeping background, there was so much that I had so much more to give. But I didn't think anybody would pay for it. I was like, if I can't do this MLM thing, I should just go get a job for $10 an hour because that's all I felt I could do at the time. The husband says, "Well, why don't you go back to college and become a teacher? You like kids." And I was like, "Oh, excuse me?" I'm like,
I'm sorry, that's my idea of hell, right?
where did that one come from? My background is in bookkeeping. I'm a numbers person.
That's so funny.
Be like,
Well,
1, 2, 3, somebody's missing. Where'd they go? But no, I got to a point. I was like, oh my, I'm so good at that stuff in the background. Yes, I love the products that I was
what
trying
kind
to
of product
sell.
was it? What kind of product was that?
It was face and body care and health and wellness and
Okay.
whatnot. And yeah, I love the products, but I couldn't sell somebody else's stuff. And I didn't know at the time that what all the knowledge I had gained, somebody else would actually pay to have me help them. And again, it was a horrible night here that I just felt like I had no value.
Mm.
And I've always any job I ever had, even from the very first job I had, at 18 years old, working at Burger King, before I knew it, the boss was asking me to take on more responsibility. Can you step up and do this? Every job I've had, they've always come and said, can you? So I knew I had so much more than just an average job, capabilities. But again, $10 an hour, $12 an hour, that's all I could get. And it wasn't until a few friends and business associates, because at that time I had gotten into networking and had been meeting people around and everything, that a few people pointed out to me what I was good at. And I was, yeah, you're right. I'm really good at that stuff. So what do I do with it? And they're like, no,
Mm.
people will pay for it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, people will pay. I was like,
Well, let's for a moment talk about what they will pay for, right? What is it that you're so great at that people will pay for? I know,
well,
but let's tell other people.
well, at the time when I decided to hang out my shingle, it was I will help small business owners locally with things in their office that they don't have time to get done. And
Mhm,
maybe they had office staff, but there was a project that they needed help. So I was driving around town. I was going to say running, but I don't run anywhere. I was driving around town, but I quickly learned, yeah, this is not a moneymaker. It's like, and there too, people weren't valuing what I brought to them. I remember one client I was helping, he made a comment about paying me what I was charging per hour. That
mm,
there was and I started to learn about the internet, and email marketing was my first entry into working online and learning technology and whatnot. So I then got into like being a virtual assistant with technical things. And well, I'll tell you, over all these, now this is over 10 years ago. It hasn't been easy by any means, just because I decided to do my own thing and I found, something I'm good at. It's still not easy to get the clients and whatnot. Again, as I'm learning along the way, I just keep but I can do that too. But oh, and I could help out here too. As much as I love the technology, and I'm not quite sure where that comes from, maybe it's like my first it took me a while to get my first computer, and that was a used one when my kids were little, and learn all these things. But having business coaches, and that's where you and I met, Gene, in a program, I've learned how to build a business. I've learned what you need to do. I'm not saying I'm there. It's like, but I have all that knowledge about building a business. But the one thing that has stuck with me forever and ever is that I hate wasting time. So when I see business owners working in the background trying to figure things out for themselves, it really bothers me. They they're spinning their wheels. They don't know should they use this technology or that technology, but even before that, it's not managing their time well either.
all right, I'm gonna stop you right here because I think we're kind of going down a rabbit hole, and I think there's people out there going, "Tell me what she does," right? So let's talk about what is the problem that you solve for most business owners? That's why I'm gonna ask that question first. What's the problem you solve for business owners?
Well, the problem I solve, is really helping them to work less so that they can make more money.
What? Work less, make more money? Isn't that counterproductive or counterintuitive, right?
I help them turn somebody now, I'm sure, Gene, you talk to people, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so busy. Oh my god, I'm constantly going. I'm running from networking event to networking event. I'm doing this stuff in the background. How's business?" "Well, I can use a lot of customers." It's like, "Well, what are you doing with all the people are busy and not
They're
getting
busy.
anywhere
Exactly. They're
because
busy
they're
on the wrong thing, right?
Right, exactly, exactly. So I am a firm believer in being profitably productive.
Mm,
Let's take a
profitably
look
productive.
at what you are doing, how you're spending your time. And in fact, earlier I was talking to somebody who brought this up about, they're hiding behind their computers, figuring something out when they should be off talking to prospects and clients to build their business. But there are systems and processes that every business should have in place instead of reinventing the wheel all the time.
I agree.
And and it just feels so good that I'm ultimately really in that spot now since I started working with you this past fall, Gene, because prior to that, I myself was reinventing the wheel too often,
Mhm.
but now I have more systems and processes, I know where the entry point is for prospects and where to lead them. And I've got technology set up so that, "Oh, can you be on a podcast tomorrow?" "Yeah, sure. I'm ready to go. I got this link." But too many people don't have that.
You know what I want to talk about for a minute is because I sometimes think when we start talking about systems and processes in your business, that overwhelms people, just the thought of that, to right.
Mhm,
It's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what systems I should have in place. When
mhm.
somebody says, I don't know what systems I should have in place, what's your answer for that?
My answer is, "Let's talk."
Okay,
Let
so
let's let let's have a profitable productivity analysis call. Let's take a quick
mm,
look at what you've got. What are you doing now? And within 20 minutes, I'm gonna find where you're leaking the money and
okay.
what systems you need to have in place.
So let's talk. I don't want you to give specifics here, but when you give them an answer, what does that look like for a system, right? So is systems the software that you're using? Is a system the order in which you do something? Tell me, give me
It
a little bit more insight as to what your system is that you're helping people with.
well, it's both, Gene, because without the process beforehand, the technology means nothing. A a common one I find is the CRM. "I've got a CRM, I'm fine." It's like, "Okay, so, you've just been networking and you just met 20 people. How are those contacts getting into your CRM?" "Well, maybe next week I'll get to at." Well, no, hold on a minute. You need a quick way of getting those new contacts in, and it's as minute as, okay, did you block out your calendar after that event to take the time to put them into your CRM? Or do you have an assistant that you can send them to? If you have an assistant, you can say, how are you sending them? Are you taking pictures with your phone? Are you scanning them into something? It's minute as that, of figuring out all those little details because most people don't.
You're absolutely right, and I'm not gonna lie, as I heard you sit there and say, "How are you following up when you what are you doing with all those business cards?" I'm like, "Yeah, what am I doing with all those business cards, right? I am not entering them into a system immediately." So, check 1, right? There's a little piece of value. Make sure you're entering your cards into whatever your CRM is, to start with, so you can follow up, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
it's not just calling from card to card to card and then leaving them there. You can make notes and things like that when you go to call, when you go to follow up, right? So
Right.
I think that that's the part there, Christine, that they really struggle with is knowing what to do next, right? You were on my mind this week. I did something. Oh, I know what it was. Here, I'll bear my little soul here with you because it was something you said to me. It's like, send me a copy of what you sent me. And I'm like, okay, no problem. And I am 100% sure I did it, but I could not find the second link, right? The
Mm.
form that you were looking for. I sent the
Mhm.
first one. I knew it only went to part of the people. So I resent it, could not find it. I'm like, oh, Christine would know how to fix that. Tell me how to fix that, right?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
I'm following up so I don't have to rely on my brain, and I think that that's a problem that a lot of us rely too much on our memory, and
Mhm.
when you're super busy, right? This week, tons of I have 4 full days of client work. I have 1 day today, which is kind of like catching up, and then a husband who just literally walked in the door who's been in the hospital since Sunday,
Mhm.
and my baby grandson has a thing that I've got a lot of things on my mind,
Mhm.
right? What do you do for somebody like that? I'm not saying specifically, but how do you help somebody who's like, "Hey, I'm overwhelmed here. I can't remember it all." Right? I can't remember it all.
Well, Gene, I like mind mapping every detail. Okay. So if you've got client work and links that you need to, I suggest dropping them into a mind map. So if you're preparing for a client, well, maybe it's not an individual client, but a group call and you have some preparation, just go and drop the links and information of, well, where is that link? Because there too, we're juggling maybe several different destinations here,
Yeah.
and drop that in, to a mind mapping software, or just start a document. And here, this comes into standard operating procedures.
That's what I'm looking for, Christine, is that
Mhm.
everybody needs some standard operating procedures, which is your process
Mhm. Right,
and your system, right?
right, right.
Oh my gosh.
So
That
that every time you because we all repeat what we're doing in our business in
right.
some way, okay? So why keep reinventing the wheel? Why, the next time you're preparing for something, do you start from scratch? No. If you have your SOP ready to go, it's just fill in the blank. Okay.
Mm,
And it's the same thing with everything. I mean, technology alone,
yeah.
it's websites, and where are those links for the opt-ins and the calendaring and whatnot? What do you have on your website? Because then when you go to change something, you're like, no, wait a minute, wait, which one is on this page or is on that page? Have the details laid out of what you have and where it's at.
I hope people are getting this, right? I hope people are understanding that Christine has just dropped probably $5,000 worth of value here in my lap today. How much did she drop in your lap today over with what she's saying? Because if you don't have standard operating procedures, which apparently I'm lacking on a little bit, right? If you don't have them, it keeps you from being as productive and profitable as
Mhm.
you possibly could be. Let's talk about
Mhm.
that, can we, for a moment? Because I love so much. You know what I love the most about what you do is your profitable productivity moments, right? It's short little videos on how to solve a problem with a certain technology, or you're answering a question. And it's like, oh, I can't remember what my favorite one is, but I told you, but I hope if you remember which one was my favorite one. But what do you
I think
remember?
when was I doing Evernote? Or I think it was Rocketbook. The week I did Rocketbook.
Oh,
Uh,
Rocketbook. Because of Christine, I now own not one full-size Rocketbook. I have a small one to go with it, right? And within the last month, right? Because you literally talked about, I said, I'm drowning in paper, and you're like, I'm not, I have a Rocketbook. Let's talk, give them the little tip on the Rocketbook, because a lot of people may not know that.
well, Rocketbook it's meant to reduce your paper, okay, so that you're not like notebooks and paper and whatnot, but
Mhm.
also the notes that you're writing down, you can easily transfer it to an online source. Or if you have a team and they need the notes to know what they have to do, you can easily share it with them. And you do that well, and I have index cards that are from
Oh my
Rocketbook.
God,
Uh,
Rocketbook index cards? What are
yes.
you doing to me? I do have all the colored pens though.
That's very important. And the nice thing is, well, they there's several you scan it in and decide where you wanna send it. Google Drive is a popular one. OneDrive can send them to Evernote, many different destinations. You choose where you wanna send this information, and the nice thing about OneDrive is it transcribes the notes. I just love that feature, 'cause then you can work with those notes.
Does it only just transcribe them in OneDrive?
No, there's a few other destinations, in Evernote, it transcribes it. I thought that it did it for OneDrive, but a short while ago, I was sending something to OneDrive and it wasn't transcribing it, so I'm not sure.
It
But
does
there's
a little
several
bit for Google, but
destinations.
not in any sort of cohesive order for Google Drive, because that's really where I send all my notes to is, and I don't care because I have their handwritten, and then it, like, below transcribes them in a small little column, which is
Mhm.
not really helpful.
Yeah, yeah, I know that's the one thing, when it
Yeah.
transcribes, it just turns it into a column, so, like, if you're, like, writing as an outline or something like that and you indent, it doesn't transcribe it that way, which it's not great, but at least it transcribes it. You could, and what I like to do with mine is send it to Evernote with tasks that I want to accomplish, and I can easily turn that into a task with a due date in Evernote.
Mm. Christine, you should be teaching a whole stinking course on using Evernote, first of all, because I think it is probably a really great product, and I just have never taken the time to get to figuring it all out. Let's
Mhm.
talk about the one thing you do help me with, right? What I'm gonna let you
You
talk about it, right? What's the one thing I love this part. I love you so much for doing this for me.
well, you have this podcast called Milk Crate Business Moments,
Mhm.
and I help you prepare for each episode, and then afterwards, I take the episodes and do the work on the backside of that too. It's y y it's easy. You get the guests, and that's all you have to do, because then I create the show titles and get it scheduled here in Restream.
Yeah.
Alls you have to do is walk into your green room here in Restream, meet your guests, talk a few minutes, and get going.
And then it's
Uh
bye-bye. Thank you, Christine. Honestly, I wouldn't have a podcast right now or a vlogcast or a vlogcast or
Yeah,
whatever this is, video cast, whatever
yeah.
this is. I wouldn't have that right now if it wasn't for you, right? Because
Mhm,
I just don't have the time to do all the preparation and send the emails to my guests and all of
mhm,
the great stuff that you take care of for me.
mhm.
Um, I know that this is not something that we um, had on the agenda to talk about, but when is your next podcast? Um, I know you do a workshop. I don't know what you charge for it. How much do you charge for it?
Oh, my $47 two-hour workshop?
47. Listen, you guys, first of all, let me just say this. I paid $197 to attend her first workshop. And then after I paid, I'm like, you know what, this really I think would be a much better $47 workshop. And she's like, okay, great, thanks. And, and honestly, I love the fact that I got so much out of what you taught me in those first 2 hours, but it was enough to know I really wanted to do this, but I don't have time for all the work, right?
Mhm,
And approached you about, would you just help me with it? And look at now we're doing it, and we've done it pretty consistently. I think I missed 1 week when it was my turnaround conference. My 3-day conference was started on a Wednesday, but I think
right.
that's the only time I have missed in since September.
Yes, you've kept it going. Yeah, every week.
So, and I couldn't have done that without you, Christine. So, if somebody's thinking about starting a podcast, I absolutely, oh, let's put up some information how they can reach you, right? Let's do that first. First of all, who is she? This is how you can reach Christine, right? Implementingyourvision.com. Christine at implementingyourvision.com. So if you're thinking like, hey, I'd like to do a podcast and on video cast and just show up and talk to people, which is what I love to do,
Mhm.
but I don't want to do all the background work. Listen, Christine has nailed it for me, and can I say, would it hurt your feelings if I said I feel like the price you charge is such a great price? I don't mind charge. I don't mind paying it. Would that be okay if I said it that way?
That's perfectly fine. That works for me.
Okay, good, because I do feel like I do this, do this. I'm getting a much better deal than Christine is here, right? With what I'm paying her to do this for me. So I just want to say that. Okay, okay, come on, come away. So I do think you do a really, really great job there. I thought the 2-hour podcast workshop was flipping amazing. First of all,
Well, I had fun doing it. I've had every time I deliver it, I have fun,
yeah.
just taking that deep dive into the technology. So if you wanna do it yourself, there it is.
Yeah, but you have something else for people today, which I really loved, and, don't and by the way, I will be opting in for this myself, so, let's put that up there. Oh, maybe I have to get rid of this one first and then
Yeah.
put oh, I don't think I saved it before. There we go. There we go.
Oh, yeah. My
Five,
5
go
simple
ahead.
success systems to add 6 figures. Glad I
Sexy.
don't have a lisp.
It's
Um,
a sexy title.
and you
Yeah.
get that at christineroth.com/milk crate. It so
Super easy. I'm gonna leave that up there for the next few minutes while we finish up here because write it down, christineroth.com/milk crate. I'm going to be opting in for that. So I think I could use 5 simple systems to add another 6 figures to my bottom line. And I know that you can, I know that the stuff you put out is top notch because I know you. You're very methodical, you're very analytical, you're very I only want to do it one time, so I'm going to do it right the first time. And all of those are things I really, really appreciate about you, right?
oh,
That
thank you.
that you do not leave, you never half-ass anything. I've never seen you do that, and I've known you for a few years, right? So I've
Mhm.
never seen you do that. So why should they opt in for that besides what's one little secret they're going to get by opting in? Just don't give them the whole secret. Give them a little teaser about this.
Well, these are 5 core systems that every business must have before you look at, oh, let's build a big funnel. Let's, build all these big things and what. These are just the core pieces that every business owner should have in place. And once you put them in place, then you can move on to the next strategy that you want to work on.
I think that is just brilliant. And as you were talking about that, when you use the word funnel, right? Every small business owner now thinks they need a funnel, right?
Mhm.
They don't. Really, I think funnels are really most effective for big online businesses that are strictly selling online. They need that big funnel with all of the emails and stuff. I'm not saying we don't need email marketing and we don't need a follow-up system and we don't need an automated follow-up system like you've created here to be
Mhm.
able to deliver this, because I guarantee anybody who's watching this, at the end of this, when people are opting in at christine.com/milkrate, you are not going back over there and going, okay, so that was Jean at jeankuhn.com. Let's send that to her. And then it's like Barb at barbfagan.com and send that to her, right? You're not doing that. This is all automated, right?
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
I bet that's one of the systems. Just saying. Just saying. So, Christine, do you have, I always like to ask this question. So, what is your one piece of advice that you would give to a business owner that you feel like this is the one thing you need to know in order to work towards your success in that business?
Well, it's realizing, I don't want to say not just realizing your value, but realizing the value on the other end of what you're delivering to people. Eh, We hide too much, and we need to get out there. People want to change the world. Well, you're not going to change it by hiding in the background. Realize what you can do on the other end, and it opens up so much for both yourself and everybody around you.
Thank you for making it easy for me to open myself up again by doing something like this that I so enjoy doing, but I would hate if I had to do all the other work that you love to do.
Oh, you're so welcome, Jean. Thank you for
I
having me.
appreciate you. I adore you. And listen, you guys reach out to Christine Roth at Christine at, can they also email you at Christine at christineroth.com? Or is it,
No, no,
okay,
that doesn't work. No.
that's just the landing page. So
Mhm.
Christine at implementingyourvision.com. Please reach out to her. Find out how she can help you with what are the missing SOPs in your business. We all
Mhm.
have them. Have a great
Mhm.
day. Christine, thank you for being here. Love you. And I can't
Thank
wait for
you.
you to come back another time and hopefully next time you'll bring like another profitable productivity moment. Okay.
I will do that. Thank
Talk
you.
to you soon. Bye.